All right, everybody. It's September the 8th.
Hi.
Heather and I were up here in New Braunfels, coming through the gate here by Landa Park, or Prince Salms Park, I believe this is. But coming over the crest here, you see some water down below. That's the Comal River. That's actually Landa Park right down there. There's some tubers. The water's not fantastic, but it looks good enough. So we're gonna get down there. As you can see, we're already in our scuba. Got some small bottles. Very shallow river here, but let's see how it goes. All right, everyone. Comal River dive here. We'll make this a pretty quick video. Heather and I here with our full face on at Landa Park at the steps, getting ready to do our entry here. See some other swimmers, lots of other swimmers out there, some tubers in the river. The water's a little mucked up here as we're going to start our entry. She's reminding me to close my valve on my face mask here. But we're about to scoot off into the water here. It's very, very shallow if you've never been here to Landa Park at the Comal River. We're pretty much standing on bottom already, but we're going to start a descent, swim out toward the middle of the river. It is dirty here because of the swimmers. They've kind of walked around and stirred the bottom up. There's people jumping in off the steps. It is pretty murky here at the start of the video. It does get better, so stick around here. Buoyancy control is kind of a chore here. It is so shallow, but we're pro level here, so it doesn't take us too much effort to get neutral. So we swim out near the middle. Clothing is common out here. I think that's somebody's headband or something. Of course, that silts water up pretty good, pulling that stuff out. But we get out here near the middle, looking for the limestone. Don't really see the limestone, so I kind of surfaced to get my bearings here in a second. We are out near the middle of the river, kind of where I expect to be, but no limestone. It's all grass. So I kind of point her up current. We're going to start this swim off going up river. There is a very, very, very mild current pushing toward us. So there's going to be a crawfish here. See him take off, go upwards right there. Crawfish are common in the river. This is the only one we saw during this dive. There was so much grass. Normally where there's limestone, you can turn over some of the blocks of limestone and find crawfish underneath that stuff. But here he just keeps kind of taking off through the grass. You see him kind of moving upwards as we're trying to catch up to him. And they're just almost impossible to find in that grass like that. But again, not nearly as much limestone as I'm expecting. A lot more grass. Kind of muddy. Looks like it's kind of... A lot of this area has silted in. And it's real soft, silty bottom. There's areas where it's kind of sporadic, like here. Looking at my gauge, there's no depth on my gauge. We're shallower than 5 feet. There's a vape device here we found. Again, the tubers going overhead drop stuff pretty regularly. We're hoping to find something cool. We don't really find anything super cool in this dive. That vape pen was probably the coolest thing we saw. So as we're moving down, we're kind of skirting the left-hand side of the river. It's a little bit cleaner over here. The tubers and stuff haven't stirred it up quite so much. Obviously, there's still stuff on the bottom. Here's a hair clippy here I found. A little alligator clip, girls putting their hair. But we're skirting the left-hand side of the river. You see where the sun and kind of shines through the water, and there's a little bit of shade. That tends to be kind of better. I'm saying 8 foot. This is the deepest part of the river here. Our deepest part of this dive was 8 feet. This is it. Not very deep at all. But again, we skirt that left side where the shadows are at. It makes the cinematography a little bit better. A lot of that too much light kind of whitewashes the footage here. There's a sock. I don't know why there's so much clothing at the bottom of this river. Yeah, Heather's not really digging the sock. But lots of clothing for I don't know why. I'm not really sure why. But notice it's a lot more sand and mud and silt here. A lot less grass. Just lots of sand and silt in where it used to be a lot more exposed limestone. So there's a tuber going overhead. See how shallow it is? If they had their feet in the water, they'd probably kick us in the face as they went over. Which is kind of funny. I wonder what they were thinking. I'm sure they saw our bubbles and knew we were down there. That's probably why they didn't have their feet in the water. But, yeah. Very shallow water. Pretty clear in some spots here where people haven't stirred it up. Again, we're kind of skirting that left side here. There are some fish. We're going to start coming into the fish here. I kind of like these shots where the light shines through. You get the kind of the sun rays coming through the trees on that side. There's kind of a mix of bluegill perch in here and some cichlids. Probably the majority of this stuff is going to be bluegill. Again, they tend to be on that far shoreline away from where most of the people are. The right-hand side of this is a walkway, and people can jump in the water right there, and they are actively jumping in the water. We're across on the other side of the Comal, on that left side, kind of away from where people can just kind of get into the water easily. And that's where these fish tend to stack up. Coming into some bass and stuff sitting here. Pretty good little bass there. Another one right here. These bass tend to hang out in groups. When you see one bass, you normally see two or three kind of hang out together. A lot of times if there's a sunken tree, like a big limb or something, they'll very often kind of hang out near that structure. These guys are just kind of sitting in the open. Another little bass here. Excuse me, bluegill. Those are bluegill. This is a bass in the distance here. I'm kind of getting close up on. You can see the vis gets a little bit better when you get out from that whitewashed sunlight. You get up in the shade. Makes a little bit better footage, but kind of moving in. Let's get a close up on this guy. See the perch kind of hanging out here as well. You'll move through sections of water where there'll be absolutely nothing, and then all of a sudden you come up to an area where all these fish are just kind of hanging out together. But kind of move in on them. Pretty good little shot here. Everybody's swimming together. The light rays coming through the trees. Pretty cool footage here. Pretty cool dive to do. Again, super shallow. You can see the surface right there. It's probably 5-6 feet deep here. Again, that bass just trying to keep his distance. A couple more bass off to the right. See a little bit of the limestone here. I think this makes, for better footage, better dive, being able to see some of that limestone when it's a mix. But big bass sitting on the bottom there. Another one off to the right. Clarity's pretty decent here. People haven't been in this area recently, so the footage here's nice and clear. This is what I would normally expect of the Comal River when it's not too active with people. Big school of, I believe these are all cichlids here. Again, sometimes the camera decides whether to make the water green or blue. That's just something that internally happens with the camera. I can't really control that a whole lot. My editor's not super great, so I kind of got what I got. So we're still moving upriver at this point. I'm just looking for some good footage here. This is wonderful footage here. I love this. I'll probably take some still frames out of this and use one of these for the still frame image for the video here. But real easy diving, super light current, real easy to swim against. See all these little black dots on the bottom? These are all little freshwater snails, super thick on the bottom here. Again, where there's grass, you don't see the snails so much because they're down below the grass. A couple of cichlids here. Looks a lot like a bluegill. It's got the dot and everything. Difference being the cichlids have lots of little white speckles all over the side of them. They look very similar to the bluegill, just a little bit different color pattern. Little white dots all over the cichlids, whereas the bluegill don't have that. Again, trying to be in the shade a little bit here. See that bass in the distance. Again, they're just trying to keep their distance. Gets a little whitewashed when I kind of look toward the sun. Real easy dive. If you're looking to just do a real simple, easy dive, see a few fish, maybe get a few photographs, Comal River's real easy. This would be real fun to even just snorkel. So we've gone up river a little ways. We're coming up to the surface, looking around. At this point, we've decided, all right, let's go ahead and head back. This isn't fantastic. I don't want to swim too far up the river here. Get another piece of clothing. I think this is like a shirt or something. I don't know why there is so much clothing in this river. Then kind of drifting back here. The same two cichlids I saw on the way. I think this is a mating pair because they're kind of just hanging out together. A little bit of a close-up on those guys. Moving further back down the river here. Little bass sitting on the grass. That's very common. They'll just kind of sit there on top of the grass and kind of hover there. These are kind of the same fish we passed coming. Now we're just passing them on our way back here. These, there's a turtle here. This little puff of dirt you just saw. I'm kind of about to point out to her. A turtle. Pretty big turtle at that. He was 14, 16 inches across, like from front to back on the shell. Real big turtle. I saw him scuttle off into the grass. But he wedged himself in the grass. I'm not really going to chase him in there. He's probably already completely gone. But it was kind of cool to see him take off. Again, plenty of bluegill. These are actually bluegill here. There's probably a cichlid mixed in here and there, but the majority of these right here are all bluegill. Sporadic bottom, kind of silty mud and grass. See this wristband? Those are real common. Schlitterbahns right around the corner. A lot of these tubers dropping these wristbands in the water. This white dot right here I'm reaching to grab with my left hand. I'm about to hand it to Heather. That's a golf ball. These are real common in the river. Assuming people like to come down here to this river and just smack their balls off into the into the river, right? You find those in there very commonly. This is usually good here. This is a spring-fed river, so temperature's pretty consistent, visibility's pretty consistent. Here's a Bic lighter, right? Some tuber dropped their lighter in the water. Find all kinds of stuff. We were hoping to find maybe some Oakleys or some Costas would be really nice. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything better than probably that Bic lighter is the best thing we found. Right. Here's a wrapper. This is from some prosciutto. It's like a real thin sliced meat. It's just somebody's trash, but I'm kind of pointing out to Heather here. Lots of little black snails attached to the plastic. Those are kind of those freshwater river snails that are pretty much everywhere lining the bottom. Now this is pretty much it for the video. Heading back here, we're getting closer to where all these kids are jumping in the water. You see this cloudy water to the left. This is about to go to 0. So from here, and again, this is kids jumping in the water, just destroying the visibility. So we kind of get into the lack of viz here. I just decide, let's surface, look around. There's our exit and entry point just down the way, so we decide just go ahead, stay inflated. We're going to swim back on the surface and just kind of end the dive here. So real easy Comal River dive. If you're looking to just put something in your logbook, it makes a pretty simple dive. Pretty fun. Lots of bass and stuff like that to look at. But thanks for watching the video. Hope to see you guys on the next one.